you got to have that time horizon. So a lot of people didn't, but it didn't really wreck our capacity, right? We're still sitting there on 50, 60 petabytes of good looking solid capacity. So that's a good thing. And then if you look over on the right side, that's the network usage. And the network usage is a little different. It's dropped off a little harder because we made a bit of a mistake in that we over provisioned. We didn't actually favor the examiners the way we probably should have. So now what's happening is as those basics drop off, so does that test data that they had. But you can see that that chart is starting to flatline. But what's going to end up happening is everything that goes onto the network beyond that number, you should go ahead and consider to be real customer data. We finally did get the product out to market in July. But it's this relayer page that really will give you the understanding about how we expect to onboard data to your machines. There's this diagram that kind of shows it. But then when you get down here, and this page is continually being worked on and we'll have more stuff going on, but there's 10 videos here and you should go through them all. But what's going to end up happening is people are going to come on and try this, and then there's going to get to be some sort of like word of mouth. And as that word of mouth gets out there and people go, wow, this thing's really performant. It's more performant than AWS. It's inexpensive compared to AWS. And at the end of the day, I'm in control of my data. I never surrender control over to anybody else. I choose where the data goes. The company never sees my data. And once that word of mouth gets out there, I perceive and believe that we are going to get some exponential growth. I don't know whether it'll be 2 months from now or 6 months from now or whatever, but I really believe that that's coming. And my job right now is to supercharge partners and get them really excited to get out there and start making money off this thing, and to get out there and do a bunch of guerrilla, Twitter threads, whatever, Instagram, the stuff we need to do to get this in front of people that can actually use it. We need your help in a lot of different ways, right? The first way that you could, help us would be to sign up and become a partner, right? If you know anybody out there who can use cloud storage, you should sign up and become a partner and consider selling storage on top of what you're doing. If you want to make sure that all your miners get filled up quickly, just go out and sell some storage and make sure that your miners are included in the group and all the groups that you sell the customers the storage to, and bam, you're going to get a whole bunch of money back on your miner and get a bunch of incoming revenue in addition to the revenue stream that you generated by selling the storage to the customer. And you get storage at discounted prices as a partner. We have this additional capability that we're calling tier 2 partner, hunters. If you go bring those people in and then meet together with us, we'll bonus you. It'll be primarily in SPFs, but we can also bonus in product, so you can get miner licenses or X miners. As we go forward, the bonuses can even be in US dollars. There's no affiliate link yet where you can just put a URL together and send people across and get like some commission off of that. That will be a thing at some point in the future where you'll be able to just refer people and turn them over to us, but then we do the work to close them and bring them on the network. The second thing that we need from you is we really need you to get out there and start talking about this product, right? Not talking about SC Prime necessarily, not talking about what you're doing with the storage as much as talking about this page. So outreach and evangelism right now is gigantic, and we need a force multiplier in you. The one question that comes up quite a bit is, have you run a relayer? And I mean, most of you should have no issues with it, right? Most of you should be fine and ready to go. So you should try it and set it up and see how it works, because running a relayer right now will give you an understanding of how it works for customers. We're working on a product that ultimately will go out, and it will come in a lot of flavors long term. But I think the first flavor we're going to work on quickly is a very inexpensive, or relatively inexpensive, QNAP styled NAS device that you just purchase from us for whatever, $700 to $1,000, pop in 2 drives, plug it in and have a relayer ready to go. It'll be something that a mom and pop shop can just pop in on their network and be running, tomorrow with no issues. You upload into the relayer from your network. In the relayer, you choose in the provider selection where all of your pieces are going to go, right? And you choose regions or countries or individual providers or whatever, and you choose based on uptime or soon performance and things like that. And once you get your perfect provider set put together, that's your own virtual private data center. And it can be as spread out over the world as you want it to be, or as tightly configured in your neighborhood as you need it to be. You can have it set in Virginia, Seattle, Texas, Chicago, wherever. You can have them going all over the place, but you choose. You are in control. And then what happens is it gets split into those hundreds of pieces and sent off to all of those locations per your direction, per your choice, because you set it to be that way. You send to hundreds of nodes. They can be hundreds of miles or kilometers apart. And so you have gigantic durability. We've got a MT Examiner 5-pack sale going on right now. What happened was when we did the purchases last year, we ended up buying a whole bunch of extra chassis and so forth. So we've got a bunch of this stuff sitting in warehouses right now, and we're going to go ahead and pass through a bunch of savings to you guys, selling them at cost and below cost in order to kind of clear some of that inventory out, but also get the network growing and keep it growing. And not only do you get a nice price, but you get a bunch of SPFs along with it. Plus, we're doubling them for this special sale that will run through the end of this month. One of the things that's going to help, we are about to release something called storage credits. It's hard to talk about crypto these days because so many people think it's just nonsense. It's a racket. It's some kind of thing. It's not here. It's never been that here, right? Here, it's a real thing. It's a real product, and it's a better product than other real products that are out there on the street. Very shortly, the Examiner UI will have a thing called Convert to Storage Credit. And what you'll be able to do is click the button, add in whatever number you want. You'll even be able to put SCP on the units to do this if you like. And you'll be able to convert SCP into storage credits. And then those storage credits can be used to pay for storage bills. So if they're just a regular customer using storage, they can convert the storage credits over and help pay their bills with those. If people that are using the storage will never have to worry about the crypto. Yes, they have to have collateral on the units to collateralize the storage. So they have to start with some crypto on the machines. But after that, they don't have to screw around with it. They don't have to worry about converting them to Bitcoin or converting them to USDT or whatever. They just convert them to storage credits because they're using the product. So somewhere between $7 and $23 is a number most people have determined is a good price for a terabyte of data, right? To store the stuff that they're putting together, whether it's video surveillance, whether it's media and entertainment graphics and assets and stuff and video, or whether it's just backups and archives of networks and computers and things like that. Those are your three big categories, by the way. Last thing I want to talk about is something I'm really excited about. We have this thing called Certified Cloud Professional that we're getting ready to sort of offer. Right now, it's first being offered to the partners because we are trying to evangelize a small group of folks to get out there and sell storage. This is a very powerful and very sophisticated product. And the product works really, really well now, and it's really cool. But it's pretty complicated too. And so that's why partners have a role. That's why there's this thing called managed service provider or cloud service professional, because a lot of people don't want to learn about cloud. They just want to hire somebody to come do it for them. That's why partners have a really good leg up here on our network, and we're totally behind our partner group. There is a lot of value in people becoming cloud professionals on our network and being able to stand up and provision relayers and to do all that. You can find yourself getting a job in your own company, for instance. If you're, doing a certain job and you turn around and talk to the IT people and say, hey, look, we should switch all our cloud over to this company and I can do it for us. I can be the one in here, setting up the relayer and managing it and getting it all provisioned and so forth. So cloud service or certified cloud professional is now a thing. The main course, cloud provisioner. As we roll out new services and products, we will continue to roll out more courseware and so forth. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Henry to talk a little bit about the course development, talk about, what we sort of see there. And also then I think he's even going to share some screen on that. So
yeah, for the last like 5 weeks, maybe it's at least 4 weeks. In the slot on Thursdays, where we would usually do storage provider meets, we've been meeting with providers, or with partners, and doing about an hour-long training session. So this has covered kind of all aspects of what the relayer, how the relayer operates, right from the hardware and networking and what's required, through like assigning privileges to different users and managing like bucket access and folder access, and how you actually go about doing that. So some of it's kind of technical, a lot of it's kind of discretionary, and kind of just building guidance so that they know how to be able to actually run this thing in the real world and for professional use cases. So those sessions have been going really well. We ran probably the last one today. But I think the reason I say probably is because I think we originally planned to do like 3, and then we just found doing them that there was so much more to talk about. But I think we're probably wrapped now. And it's from those sessions that some of those videos that we showed earlier were pulled from. So those kind of 10 videos that you can see on the Relayer webpage, they're just like 5 to 15 minutes each. So they're pretty bite-sized. Encourage you to take a look at one. And if you like the style of it, they're kind of all like that. Not all of them are taken from the partner training sessions, but some of them are. And then through that, so now that we have like real kind of rigorous first party courseware to help familiarize people, not just with how to use a relayer, but how to like really professionally use it and understand everything that they're doing. So because there's different depths of knowledge. So something more than just reading a doc's guide on how to get set up, but actually being able to use this thing from a place of enlightenment. Partners have great flexibility as well, in that while under the hood, obviously, they're using a lot of our infrastructure and software in how they represent it ultimately to their clients or in advertising. I don't want to say they can represent it however they want, but if they don't like the term storage credit or something, they don't have to call it that. They can call it something else that maybe they think is a little more slick, or would or if they're in a different locale or like a different region, and there's a better term in that language or in that region or something for that kind of thing. We are representing this very transparently and making sure that people are aware of all the layers and the depth to it. But it really is one of those things, and I've seen how smoothly and slickly it can work when you have it hooked up to just something like Mountain Duck or any of those kind of basic like mount as a drive in Windows or something. That you totally don't have to know how the relayer is actually working in the background or something. So you can represent it to clients at any level of depth that you think would be appropriate. But yeah, this is all infrastructure that we're discussing here. And infrastructure, at the end of the day, it's probably not sexy. I mean, it means a lot to us, but at the end of the day, we should make it almost should be boring again. It should just work, and it should work really well. And if you are interested in why it is better, or why what it does differently than native cloud, then you're certainly welcome to look into that. And that's what we've been putting an immense amount of effort into. And what's also kind of interesting, there is a lot of pressure, I suppose, and it kind of makes sense to dumb down or streamline a lot of aspects of the relayer. And that's something that we're aware of, and we've considered and made a lot of strides where that makes sense. But one thing that is really interesting that I only kind of thought about this way a little while ago is an app like Veeam that we mentioned earlier. That's like an 80% in backups. Everyone uses Veeam. It's really good and it's mature. But if if you've ever tried to use Veeam, it's ridiculously complex. It's not a simple piece of software. To even just set up a basic backup of like one drive on your computer, you need to go through like 12 different menus, and it uses really particular phrasing. Like the world of enterprise software is just a little bit different, and there's an expectation of an amount of effort that you're going to put in. So it's an interesting kind of place that we're at. So the relayer, I think, in a lot of ways is pretty streamlined and approachable. It'll never be as easy as like an app on your phone or something, because that's not what it is. But
one of the things about our network and everything that we built here, we focused originally by saying, look, we're going to target SME. SME just makes sense because it's a big, broad swath of people that are all starting to move to the cloud, but they aren't so huge that they have certain expectations, and they're not so small that they don't actually have any money or, whatever. So it seemed like the right thing. But look, the tool that we built actually is enterprise grade. It can be used in enterprise now. And so, that's a thing. Selling into enterprise is a little trickier. And so it probably will be a while before we get any really large corporations to take us up. But you never know. It could happen quickly. It could happen slowly. I don't know. But the other thing, though, that I want to say is that when he says it may never be easy enough to just run on your phone. Look, the whole point of this is what I said with Dropbox, for instance. There are going to be entrepreneurs that sit in these meetings that we're having, that go back and listen to other AMAs that we've done, that will download and run the tools and will realize what we put on the table for them. And so they may start out and sign our partner contract and say, yeah, I want to be a partner, not actually thinking about selling to other people in the traditional way you're talking about. I'm building an app. I'm building a file sharing app, or I'm building a media digital asset management app, or I'm building my own VM, right? I'm building a tool to do something that I'm going to go out and sell to the world. So, if it's a file sharing thing like Dropbox, maybe they come up with a better Dropbox and it's just cleaner, easier to use or whatever, runs on all your phones and so forth. And all the relayers run at their shop. They set up all the relayers and run them themselves and then sell you a product like Dropbox or something for people that, cut movies or people that do whatever. So that's a big layer of development that's going to end up happening where people start to realize you can use our deal. I was talking to people about this recently, and object storage, years ago, object storage was one of three: file, block, and object. They were about equal in how they got adopted. Block tended to be the thing people focused on mostly because it was the most important stuff. Databases and things, big data lakes, analytics, all the stuff that happened along those lines. But what's happened over the last several years is object storage has really taken the crown. Everybody is moving to object storage for everything. So one of the things that's happening in a big way right now is a lot of people are uploading data lakes to big object stores in the cloud, right? And then that when I say data lake, all I'm talking about is a big giant puddle of flat file database type stuff that are just all going up. It's just objects. It's just all these raw files that are going up onto the network. And then what ends up happening is you need some way to access and to actually use these assets as they're in the cloud. Well, there's a whole bunch of companies out there. Snowflake is one that is really come out of nowhere to make a very large corporation out of it. And what they do is they provide analytics software to essentially reference these giant flat file or flat table, structures that live on our cloud, and then actually do analytics, right? And things like that. So we're going to partner with all those people over time.
So Reith mentions that he's working with Snowflake daily. So that's the kind of thing that we're talking about, where if anything that we've said kind of resonates or connects, or you see a path where you could kind of get in on this kind of thing, you have huge incentive to. You'll be rewarded generously for your labor, because this is the first mover kind of advantage. This kind of cloud, this virtual private data center, whatever you want to call this new paradigm, it's too good of an idea to fail. It's inevitable. But there's only going to be one first wave of people that really capitalize on it, and it's up to you whether you want to be in on it or not. So Psychotics mentioned that we do have a new SPD release, the 184, that we should at least make it so if people maybe missed the announcements or aren't aware. There was a new SPD release. Ken, do you know what went into this one? What was
Look,
what changed?
I've really kind of gone out of my way to not mention it, and the only reason is simply because the deal with it is, if you've ever gone through that thing where you moved your provider to another, node, or you had to do something to re-provision the storage or whatever, and you got into this thing where it looked like it was going to take days or weeks or months in order for it to reclaim, and you were going to have all kinds of downtime, we fixed that, or we at least put in a mitigation for that. So you would upgrade to 184 if ultimately you were going to move your node, you were going to change your node, you were going to, set up a new node. If you're just an average provider right now, to be frank about it, you don't have to update. It's not going to hurt you if you don't update. You can just wait and bypass it from 183 to 185 whenever that comes down the pike, when we have some real features that are ultimately necessary or useful or valuable. That's literally the only thing that's rolled into 184.
Okay, thanks for the skinny. Not seeing a ton more questions. There was some discussion, which we do love seeing. Seems like some of it was centered around whether governments would be willing or not to adopt this kind of thing. I do agree with the sentiment that in general, a lot of governments are kind of conservative, especially when it comes to adopting tech stuff.
What you're going to do is you're going to go and say, look, AWS, Wasabi, Backblaze, Google, Microsoft own our data. So there's no AWS center in Latvia that I know of. There's no Microsoft data center in Latvia that I know of. But here's the deal. You can build a virtual private data center and keep all your data in Latvia. You can have Latvians earning revenues off that data center, and you can have customers and consultants and various companies all enjoying and using the localized virtual private data center in Latvia. That is a powerful, resounding message for any politician. Because if you give the money to Jeff Bezos, it's going to America. It's going to end up in a 500-foot yacht, and it's not going to be spent in your country. Sovereignty of data is the key idea for these governments. I believe that when the ability exists for people locally to own the data center, then companies locally are going to use the local-owned data center. And this is what this is, a local-owned data center. That's just the bottom line of it.
Yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. Great seeing everybody in the chats for the theater. When we started doing these, I think there maybe was a theater, but it was new and it was limited to like 50 people and there was no chat. Like it really has just over the last 2 years that we've been doing these. They've matured so much, so that's really cool. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for the kind words. We'll have something for you next week to come in and tune into, where we'll meet 2 more team members. So look forward to that. But until then, I think we've also, in addition to kind of coming back with these storage provider meetups, at least irregularly, we're starting to be more active on Twitter again and Threads. If Threads is your preferred brand, I guess, for what's essentially the same service, then we're now on Threads as well. Kind of mirroring, and Facebook. We were always on Facebook, but yes, Gord. And congratulations, Gord, by the way, on bearing the Deep Blue title. Gord joined the team officially. Maybe he'll be the subject of next week's Meet the Team. You'll have to come in and see. But other than that, cheers, everybody, and we'll see you around the Discord.